Oh, are you Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a tourist from Norway.
Oh, nice
So I'm just
meet
filming.
you. How are you?
It's nice to meet witnesses everywhere. So,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
so what are you selling?
We're not selling anything. It's
You don't mind me
completely
filming?
free. No, no.
It's okay, I'm filming?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's nice.
Yes,
completely voluntary.
This time it's an article about how we can help children
Okay.
cope in today's world.
Okay.
And
Yeah, you know, I'm an activist for children's rights.
yeah.
And it says hashtag all religions must.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think all religions should respect the rights of children. Like one of the rights of a child, that they should be encouraged to seek education. And I also heard the witnesses have the tendency of telling them not to go to quote-unquote Satan's system for wisdom and just read Watchtower.
We very much encourage being educated, and in fact every week at our meetings is a school-based program to teach how to talk to people, how to study, how
so
to...
you still have the theoretical minister school?
Yeah, absolutely. It's got a different name, but it's still our Christian Life and Ministry, but it's based still on a school-based kind of program training to teach and to be able to talk to others, not just within our own religion, but to talk to other people that we meet in workplace, in all of these practical tips that are taught here can be applied in schooling, can be applied in families, can be applied when they go into work, wherever they are. It's all practical information for teachers.
Okay.
So.
Because I'm a curious person. I went in and listened to, one of your popes, Stephen Lett. He giving a speech they had a convention called Love Never Fails.
We've just had ours, yes.
And when he started his speech, he said, it's important to teach children not to love themselves. And for me, it sounds, you have a convention called Love Never Fails, while the opening message of one of your popes...
We don't call them popes.
It's called the Octopope. You have 8 leaders, and I think it's called the Octopope.
No, definitely not. No.
I'm pretty sure they are.
Don't call them that at all.
No, we know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you call them?
Just be a bit This is the trouble with information. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And
so it's not called the Octopope.
No, definitely. I've never even heard that actually. No,
Absolutely.
Never heard
it's
that.
It's a cool
myself.
name. I think you should use it.
No, never heard it.
Octopope.
We call them brothers and sisters the same as all of us. We call each other. Yeah.
No.
But you're right. Yeah. Misinformation is
Octopope
kind of out there
cool.
a lot. So.
You must admit
sounds
that.
a bit sinister.
It does.
Yeah, but anyway, so the Octopope, or the brother Octopope, he said it's important to teach children not to love themselves. But he said they should learn to love Jehovah, and in real life, when they, from a pragmatic point of view, because I don't see myself as religious. So in everyday life, when they say you should love Jehovah, it turns down to, from everyday life, it turns out to kind of love Watchtower. So not love yourself.
It's love of God, love of the Bible, of His Word. Absolutely.
The trouble is,
I'm not attacking you.
No.
Debate
Do you know
is
what?
always
We love
positive.
having chats with people. We love hearing
the
how
Bible teaches us that we do need to love ourselves and care for ourselves. In fact, it says to husbands to love his wife as he loves himself.
Yeah.
So we love ourselves in that we care for ourselves.
Yeah.
You need to have a certain amount of... But there's a thing in the world today where people say, me first, I must do what I want regardless of other people. So love of self has gone berserk,
to an extreme.
so that sometimes children can grow up with this idea that they're the most important person and that they shouldn't put other people first. And the Bible, Jesus said, don't do that.
Well, he did say love yourself, because
we do need to love yourself in the fact that you must
care for yourself. Care for making sure you protect
but it's
yourself.
this idea of love of self, putting oneself first and not
what should you put
caring for
first
others.
then?
Jesus said that the 2 greatest commands was the first command. This is Jesus talking, so it's not our words.
I actually read the Bible.
Yeah. Jesus said the first greatest commandment is to love your God, and then to love your neighbour as yourself.
Yeah. So then it's like starting to teach a speech with you should teach the child not to love themselves is actually wrong, because if you don't love yourself, you can't love your neighbor, and then you can't love God.
Yeah, but
to me, you know, from an outsider's perspective, you understand?
In the context of the...
But if you would come to a religion called X, Y, and Z, and you obviously think that religion would be a false religion, and you would the outsider's perspective, and they say to the children, you should not love yourself, you should love X, Y, and Z. That sounds very creepy. You understand?
No, because our children are taught.
So if I would teach my children to not love themselves but only love X, Y, and Z.
But if perhaps in that talk,
no, please answer the question.
No, if it was only that, but in the context, if you listen to perhaps the rest of that talk, it was said in,
you would have seen.
You would have heard that actually our children were taught to love their neighbours and to love everybody in the same way that they were brought up to be protected and love themselves. The children are brought up to have a love of everybody and to love themselves as well. To have a love of, you know, looking after their bodies and a love of making sure that they are doing right in the world, but not a prideful love that overtakes the love of everything else.
And our children are very happy, well-adjusted children, and we tell them about other religions. You know, we don't just teach them about what the Bible says.
But just to, you know, if I would tell my children, I don't have any children, but if I would tell my children about Jehovah's Witnesses, that would obviously be biased, because there's some stuff I don't like, you know. Some stuff I do like, some stuff I don't like. But I would also allow my kids to speak to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
But if your child say, I would like to attend a meeting in the Catholic Church, I would like to, this month, the month of October, instead of going to Kingdom Hall, I would like to go to the Catholic Mass. Would you be okay with that? Just for 1 month?
The thing is,
please, I just want to answer the question.
Well, that's a personal decision.
Yeah, so yes or no?
That's a personal, I wouldn't.
We're all given free rights to choose. No, I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't. But we're given free right to choose. You know, a child would have the freedom if they were old enough to leave the house themselves.
So
they would have the freedom to go
if your child
discover.
said, if your child would ask you and say, "Is it a good idea, Mama?" you would say no. But if they said, "I'm 12 years old. I'm going with my uncle and auntie, so I'm well protected, and I make the decision to go," is the old enough to take that decision?
Personal choice.
Yeah.
So the child can take that choice when it's 12 years old?
It's up to every parent to allow whichever child. Yeah.
Because I know you baptize children. Witnesses do.
Only when they're of an age when they can decide for themselves.
They choose
we don't
themselves
have baby
completely.
baptism.
No,
like
but I
churches
actually know a witness. She's dead now. And she was a part of my extended family. I can't even remember her name. That's awkward. But it was like my brother-in-law's. No, my brother's. Yes, you know, extended family. But she was baptized as a Jehovah's Witness when she was 7.
Yeah.
We were actually talking about this morning.
I think that's very.
It's a personal choice.
I was a lot older.
How old were you?
I was over 19. Yeah, nearly 20, and I
Well,
made
then
the
you were grown
decision
up.
myself. Absolutely.
Okay.
My parents never forced me to make that decision. In fact, when I actually said to them I was thinking of getting baptized, they said, "Do you feel ready? Are you absolutely, do you feel it in your heart that that's what you want to do?"
Yeah, but you were a grown up.
Everybody is different.
You were a grown
Yes,
up,
I was an adult, definitely.
Because you could, when you're 19, you can rob a bank and go to jail. But a 12-year-old can rob a bank but can't go to jail because he's not responsible for his action. Obviously, some people that believe Jehovah's Witnesses is a cult, they wouldn't allow the children to go to the witnesses.
They're definitely not a cult.
No.
In fact,
but that would be their good responsibility to make that decision.
Well, the definition of a cult has some. There are many different definitions, and one of the definition of a cult, the easiest way is you're not allowed to leave without consequences.
Disfellowshipping is based on what the Bible teaches, and in the first century, when the Christian congregation was set up, the Apostle Paul wrote in Corinthians that if somebody commits a serious sin, I mean we're talking serious sin, and is unrepentant, the Bible's way is to remove him from the congregation.
Okay.
So it's not something we've dreamt of.
So a serious sin, when you say serious sin to me, I'm thinking like murder, rape, genocide.
Adultery.
But does it also include Christmas tree, birthdays, stuff like that? would that also be a serious sin in the same category as child molestation and murder?
No.
If you would buy a Christmas tree and have a Christmas tree, you would not be disfellowshipped.
If I were to buy a Christmas tree, there would be something. You see, Christmas is not taught in the Bible. It has a pagan beginning. It's based on pagan worship. Even the churches know this.
Yeah.
And
you've probably done your research yourself on things like
our children the truth. You see, people who tell their children that Santa Claus is this mythical creature is bringing them presents and that Jesus was born on the 25th of December, they are not truths, are they? They're lies.
Yeah.
And the church knows that this is a lie, and yet they perpetuate it. We tell our children the truth.
Out of love for them.
Santa Claus is a mythical, it's not real, and we choose to give our children gifts throughout the year, so we don't lie to our children. Whereas most of the Western world do lie to their children, don't they? Tell them
even
lies.
though most of them know.
But
the
you know,
origins
if you tell your children, you know, little piggy went to the market, you know, nursery rhymes. It's not lying to your children.
No.
So if you would put Santa Claus, I would put Santa Claus in the category of nursery rhyme. Like it's
nursery rhymes, children know that
because
it's
we all know he's not real, you know.
But
children for a long time, don't they?
I've worked in a school, and
too.
many young children really believe that Santa Claus is real.
And get very upset when they find out he's not. I've seen that. Definitely.
I've seen children in tears when they find out that he's not real.
So,
and it's linked to the Bible, the religious side of it is.
Finding out something's not real can cause trauma, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But everything we believe is based on the Bible. And we've found that teaching our children God's ways from the Bible is to their benefit. Then when they're older, they can decide whether they want to follow it or do something else. So that's fine.
But the Christmas tree thing, okay, so we all agree, you said you only get this fellowship for a grave sin. English is not my first language, a grave sin. And to me, you're putting
and then only if you're not repentant.
But you know,
people make mistakes, but they can be sorry.
I'm just curious
afterwards.
about the Christmas tree, so I like a straight answer. Because if you buy a Christmas tree, it's not like, oh, it slipped through my pocket and now it's in the living room. So you don't
choosing to do something.
So that's a premeditated crime. Would you be disfellowshipped for having?
I've never thought about that before.
It would definitely not be an instant thing. Right, you've bought a Christmas tree, you would be disfellowshipped.
But can you say categorically that you will not be disfellowshipped for having a Christmas tree?
I don't think I've ever known
because
that
you cannot say it's. You cannot say it's not premeditated. So you can't say, it slipped through my pockets and I'm sorry, you know.
Hello, Teresa. Anyway, it's been nice to talk to you.
Yeah, we're swapping
we'll
over.
Have to finish there now. But, you'll be able to watch it all back later.
No, I'm not here to bash the witnesses. I love the witnesses.
You clearly have thought very carefully about different angles on things.
I thought there's actually I do know someone that was disfellowshipped for having a Christmas tree. So that's one of the things I do. That's one of the things I do with everyone I talk. I ask a question that I know the answer to and see if they're sincere. So maybe you never heard about it, but I know a man in Scotland who was disfellowshipped for having a Christmas tree.
You see, if you become one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you're saying that I wish to live by the Bible and do what God says in the Bible. If then you start following pagan religion, it's clear that you don't want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. So why
that's
worry
okay.
about
choosing that yourself, though, aren't you? It's not about
But the problem is, you know, if I want to join the Catholic Church, I can leave the Catholic Church with no consequences. But if you want to leave the Church of Scientology, like the Sea Org, to join the Sea Org, you signed a billion-year contract. So then if you leave early, you own the money.
Oh my word, that's terrible.
That's terrible. So that's a way of keeping people against their will. I know people that felt like they got baptized when they were 12 years old. They were a child, not accountable for their action. And then when they want to leave, they are not allowed to.
Everybody's free to leave.
Yeah, but you won't ask them for $100,000 like Scientology. But you will say you will never, you can't meet your parents again because of the shunning.
That's not right.
Because I heard that Jehovah's Witnesses disfellowship their members.
Yes, and that's based on what the Bible says. If somebody is disfellowshipped, then for now the Bible says don't mix with them. That's a Bible teaching. It's not our teaching, it's what the Bible says. If in time somebody repents and wants to put it right and wants to come back,
if it was within the week and they were really repentant, absolutely.
Well, within the week is actually not true. Could you check 1 Corinthians for me? And
I don't think this conversation is going to improve because you clearly have found out about what we believe.
Yeah, I know
We're
a little.
convinced that it's the truth, and I don't really feel I want to just stand and argue with you because you don't like
we could
it very
kind of
much.
choose every verse of the Bible and discuss it, but we would
Someone
be
Yeah, but you're not ashamed of
No,
the
absolutely
truth
not.
or so on.
This is why we're out here.
Yeah. So
But we would rather spend our time on somebody who really wants to
I would
accept
like
what
to
the
learn.
Bible says, but you're criticising it all the time.
Howdy, heretics. I came back from England. I've been there on a protest and I met those lovely Jehovah's Witness sisters in Oakham. I asked them if I could film and they said yes. I really appreciate that. But technically, I don't have to ask because when grown-ups willingly go to a public place to peddle a message, they also waive their privacy rights. So you can film them without their permission. But I always ask anyway, try to be a nice guy. Obviously, I had to cut this interview short, it would be too long otherwise. And maybe you noticed I disagree with their claim that their shunning is in the Bible. I will make a video about that later. But I like just to comment the thing they say that other religions lie to their children about Santa Claus. We would never lie to our children about a mythological creature. And it's really hard for children to wake up and realize what they've been told by their parents isn't true. And I can relate to that. It's really hard to wake up and realize what your parents taught you would not be true. However, I do disagree with their claim that they would never lie to their children. Because yes, Jehovah's Witnesses will not tell their children that Santa Claus exists, but they do talk about other mythological creatures like demons. If you look up demon, you find out it comes from Greek mythology, not Hebrew mythology. Demons come from Greek mythology. It's pagan. And my parents used to tell me that demons would possess my toy, and the only reason they did that was because they wanted to kill us, make sure we wouldn't live in paradise. We would hear stories about demons, witnesses waking up and because demons were raping them. And this day today, they make propaganda videos about if you play with the wrong toy, if your toy is magical like Sparlock, Jehovah will be sad. And when witnesses say Jehovah will be sad, it's code for Jehovah will kill you. So let's call it a tie. The worldly people lie to their children about a mythological creature that gives them toys, no strings attached. And Jehovah's Witnesses lie to their children about mythological creatures that will harm them, rape them, or cause Jehovah to kill them and their family in Armageddon. Let's call it a tie. The big difference is, like she said, it's difficult to wake up to the fact your parents lied to you. So when a worldly 7-year-old kid tells their parents, I no longer believe in Santa Claus, it's a terrible day. But when Jehovah's Witnesses tell their parents, I no longer believe that my toys will rape me, they will shun you. So let's call it a tie. It's a nice day, I'm in a good mood. So I hope you like this video. I hope you like and subscribe. I hope you are among my 144,000 subscribers. And stay tuned because we have a lot of good stuff going on now. So see you in paradise.